marigolds got nailed by the frost pretty badly
They're
too.
pretty sad, aren't
You
they?
can see that. It's when I came in this morning, I was really shocked and bummed out to see it because I thought we were above the freeze line. But out here in the middle of the country, essentially, we are we get frost a little bit easier than we do out in the city. So I have my personal gardens out in the city, so I don't have to worry as much about frost because it's a lot warmer in the city with all the concrete. But out here, I'd have to worry a little bit more. So I forgot about that, and I left these little buddies out, and they got pretty singed. But similar to the basil with the marigolds, if you cut them back, this one by my thumb might not make it, but these other ones are probably going to be fine.
Pretty hard, but they're gonna come out very nicely because those leaves are really healthy. And you'll notice the green stems and the leaves, they're all photosynthesizing. So as much green as you can leave on, that plant's going to regenerate. They really do a good job for you.
And it'll be compact for a bit, and it might take it a little bit to catch up, but they are going to pop out once it gets warmer. And the nice part is the areas where our wooden boxes right here, we're protecting it. Those ones are fine. They're totally fine. So we've got about 3 plants that didn't get singed whatsoever, but the rest of them got nailed pretty hard. But once we cut these back, we'll put them in the ground, they'll be absolutely fine.
Now, one of the things you want to remember when you do this kind of pruning, when you plant it, the first impulse is, oh, let me fertilize it a whole lot. No, don't. Just fertilize it as you would normally. Put a little compost around the area. You should be fine. Don't go to heroic methods because the plant's going to do a good job for you, whether you fertilize it or not. But just a little goodness around the side is going to make it happy.
All right. So we talked about earlier what plants get burned by the frost. But in the ground, what do you have going on here, Kate? Who's coming up?
So we've got some pea shoots coming up right around here, right by the fence. And we've got some little teeny itty baby lettuce plants that are starting to come up. We've got, some of them are leafing out a little bit over here. And we've got some shallots and we've got some garlic. And those weren't affected whatsoever by the frost that hit last night.
And that's the thing you have to remember about seasonality in the garden. Spring crops or cold weather crops like the lettuce or the peas generally don't mind cold weather. Sometimes they'll get a little singe, but not anything that's going to distract from the vigor of the plant. As you can see, even the baby seedlings of the lettuce are doing perfectly fine. None of them got a problem. And what we'll have to do as these start to come up, once you see where your seed germinated, you're going to have to start thinning. And you want to do that fairly soon, right, Kate?
Yeah. So today we might even come in and thin out some of these plants. So we have a big clump right here that we're not going to be wanting to be so thick. So I'll come in here and thin these out. We can feed them to the chickens or to the rabbits or eat them in a salad or something like that once we wash them real good. But we want to make sure that there is enough space between the plants so that they can leaf out and really grow and thrive. Otherwise, they're just going to stay kind of small and spindly and not do very well.
And when you talk about spacing, there's lots of different definitions. I generally use my hand as a good width between plants. When you look at this, you'll say, golly, that's a lot of space. But your lettuce is going to be growing throughout the season. And when you pick your lettuce, right, you come off from the outside in. And it makes a really good show. Now, you'll notice that Kate is pulling these out. If you don't have chickens to feed your lettuce seedlings to, and you just want to thin things out, you can even go with your scissors and cut these off on the top. Either one works fine.
I could do that right now. We can just trim them out.
Yep.
And we can just leave these on the tops if we want, and it can break down, or we can put it in the compost pile. But that makes quick work of thinning out our seedlings.
All right, so you're putting out kohlrabi.
Yeah, we're putting out some kohlrabi today. We're going to plant it next to our black-eyed Susans, our Rudbeckias. They are something we had here last year, and then they put out their seeds, and their seeds kind of went over there, and they went over there. So we had little seedlings all over the place, and we needed to help them just get back to where they were supposed
Organization,
to be. Yeah,
right?
exactly. We try and keep it semi-organized
Yeah.
around here. But yeah, we're gonna stagger these a little bit in a zigzag pattern, or checkerboard. What would you call that? A checkerboard, a zigzag?
Zigzag, because the kohlrabi's going to
yeah.
get about a foot, a little bit more across. And so you don't want them too close together. They have to have room to develop and put out their foliage. And the kohlrabi, if you haven't grown it for food, for ornamental uses, is absolutely stunning. I mean, the leaves are spectacular, and the fruit itself is the same wonderful purpley red. So once these things start growing, it's a conversation piece, if nothing else, right?
Yeah,
People look at it.
Those leaves just beautiful. So there's like green, there's
Yes,
purple. It's like
every
a silvery color. It's just absolutely gorgeous.
Okay. So what Kate is doing right now is putting in some celery and some marigolds. You'll say, well, golly, didn't know marigolds needed that much room. Well, they don't. The thing that we're doing here is spacing, because we only have 3 celery plants. We thought if we went ahead and put the marigolds with it, it would really help both plants, because the marigolds act as that natural deterrent for insects. And we want to keep our celery extremely healthy, because it's one of those crops that takes a very long time. We're talking over 100 days to maturity. So this guy is going to be in place for quite some time. So we'll go ahead and mark it so people don't say, oh, what nice parsley, and pick it, because right now it has that look about it.
That the spacing is correct, and I like where it's at right now, so I don't plant it right away. I'll take it out of the cells, and I will place it in the garden. If I did that over here with the kohlrabi too, and if I really like how it's set up, I'll plant it. But if I look at it and I step back and I'm like, you know, I don't really like that, then I can move it around, and it's a little less of a commitment until I put it in the ground.
And also you'll find that if you do put things out first and then come back and look at it, I don't know about you, but many times I put something down and I think, that's great. Then I back away from it and it's a curve.
Yeah.
Or just doesn't look the way I wanted it to. So put it down, go out, take a look, and then plant it. It works a lot better. I just love that the soil is so beautiful. It makes the perfect demo spot.
It's gorgeous. Look at that.
It's wonderful.
Beautiful.
It's so nice, and all the work that's gone into it. Oh, golly. Well, when you think of all the years we've been out here putting cardboard, chips, newspapers, all of that, it takes that tending to make the soil this nice. You can't ignore it. And the roots also. The roots of all the different plants help break down that soil and pull the nutrients around. It really helps a lot.
Some extra nutrients.
What have you planted in the past for cover crops?
We've done wheat. We've done peas. Sometimes we'll put beans in. We'll plant beans and then we'll save the bean plants and put those back into the soil. We'll uproot the bean plants and we'll lay it down, and then we'll let it break down a little bit, and we'll turn over the soil just to get that those nutrients back.
Yeah, so you're composting in place.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we try and do here. It's a lasagna bed gardening or sheet composting. And it works so well that our garden's basically just a big compost pile at this point. That's why the soil is just so fantastic.
And that's great.
Gardening and compost. Fantastic.